Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So this week we are working with back bends and more specifically how to do a bridge. So I have a few versions for you depending on where in your bridge process you are. So there's always something you can work with to progress. And if you've never done a bridge before, this video will also give you some tools and some steps to nail your first bridge. So to make a full bridge, we need a little bit of this and a little bit of that. The first thing is obviously back extension. So we need to be able to bend our backs, but also our backs have different segments. So we have the cervicals, which is the neck, and then the thoracic and the lumbar. We need hip extension to be able to open up those hips. And then we want to work on our shoulder flexion. So we want to be able to bring our shoulders up and back so we can stack them on top of the wrist and extend our elbows. So this is not a follow along video. I will show you the exercises. I will give you the sets and the reps that I suggest you to do, and then you go and do it on your own. So make sure that you are warmed up before you start. Warm up all the body parts, so wrists, shoulders, hips, and back, of course, so you're ready to go. So watch the video, grab them exercises, and have an awesome back bend session, guys. Please subscribe and hit the like button to support my channel.
Coach Gatsby is ready for some back bending. Let's go! So step forward with one foot, so you're in a 90-degree position in both your legs. From there you wanna pull your belly button in and tuck under your hips. You're gonna push the hands in front of you so you also get a flexion in your spine. So think about separating the shoulder blades and hold for 10 seconds before you extend the arms up. And if you want to, you can do a little back bend there as well. And then come back and go in for another 10 seconds. So you really want to shoot that thoracic back to the back wall and shoulder blades spreading wide. 3 repetitions of this one with 10 seconds hold. And every time you come down with arms, I really want you to tuck that tailbone in and push the hips forward to get a good stretch in your hip flexor. So really squeeze the glute. Next up, we're gonna go into a dynamic low lunge. So we're gonna scoot your foot forward so the heel is in front of the knee. Start again with tucking in the tailbone, activating the glute, and then you're gonna lean into the front knee, sinking the hips towards the floor, and try to keep your shoulders above the hips so you don't start leaning forward. The glute is active the whole time to help flatten out that front side of your hip, and see if you can use your breath to deepen the position with every rep you're going forward. Then we're going into a static hold, so we're gonna hold here now for 30 seconds. And also here I recommend you to try to keep those long breaths going to help your body relax. Try to keep that posture as well with the shoulders over the hips, and see if you can bring your hip closer to the floor throughout the stretch. Also make sure your knee is pointing over your third and second toe and not falling out or in. From here, if you want to, you can go into a little back bend, but this is optional. I put my hands on the hips to give a bit of support, and I start by lifting up the chest before I start moving back, so I'm not leaning straight into the lumbar. So we want to keep that glute active as well, so we're not hanging into our lower back. And keep pulling the hips towards the floor. But this is a quite challenging position, so don't hang out there for a lifetime. Come up when you are ready. Then we're gonna set up for our second side, so tuck the tailbone under. Legs are in a 90-degree position and start pushing the back to the back wall. So separate the shoulder blades and push the hips forward. But since this is not a follow along video, I will speed it up on the second side. And a reminder to always obey your coach. Okay, back into real time. Grab your block or a tennis ball or something to place behind your knee, and then I want you to squeeze into that item. Make sure your shoulders are over your hands and your hips are over your knees in a 4-point position. From here you're gonna arch to then go into a tuck under, so pull the tailbone in, and that's the position we want to have when you lift the leg up and then lower it down. So your biggest task here is to not let your lower back go into an arch, but keep pulling the belly button in and tucking under. So leg keeps moving up and down, and you'll feel how activated the glute and the hamstring becomes when the leg is at the top. So this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to arch getting into your lower back here, because then we also lose the connection with the glute and the hamstring. So keep tucking under, never lose that, and keep squeezing into that item. Then stop at the top, and from here you want to do small pulses up. Again, avoid that arch and keep lifting the heel towards the ceiling. When we've completed our pulses, we're gonna hold at the top, so keep lifting the heel up towards the ceiling, but again, no arching. And then place the knee down, and we're gonna go over to our second side. Again, I'm gonna speed this up, but you have the sets and reps in the corner. Then maybe a little stretch and twerk before getting back onto your bellies. So hands are wide in line with your ears, and from here we're going to start lifting the chest. The whole posterior chain, the back side of my body, is super activated. My feet are in the floor, my glutes are squeezed, and I'm lifting my chest high and pulling shoulder blades together. As you can see, I'm on the top of my fingers, so I'm lifting up, up, up. I'm keeping my hips on the floor, and I'm holding. Here, if you want a challenge, you'll lift one hand and place down, so without sinking in the chest keeps high, and then I lift one hand and release, coming back down. So start by really pulling the shoulder blades together. Elbows are drawing in towards the body, and if you want to, you can also try to extend one arm, placing it back, extend the other, and lower. Make sure the feet are not lifting off the floor and that the glutes are always active. Next, we're gonna place the hands lower down, so in line with the chest, and from here we're gonna start with the head. So we look forward, and then we extend in our upper back and pushing up, so we include the lower back this time. But here it's super important that you're not hanging into the shoulders. No, no, no. We wanna keep a lot of space between the ears and the shoulders, so roll the shoulders back and down. Also here it's super important that you squeeze the glutes so you're not hanging into your lower back. We want to keep an active lifted position. And then lower back to the floor, slow and controlled. 2, again, push up. And at the top you'll feel how the front side of your body, so your abs and also maybe your hips, get a bit of a stretch. And lower down. If you have a healthy neck, you can try to really lead with the eyes, so try to look up and then target behind you, so you use the cervical extension as well. Be careful to not drop your head back, but keep lifting the neck. And then lower back, keep the elbows tied into the body. So start by squeezing between the shoulder blades, elbows tied, and then lift the hand. On this one, we're gonna add a little finisher. So stay up at your top position, then we're gonna bring the heel towards the glute. You can also look straight ahead if that feels better in your neck, but keep those heels working towards the glute. Keep squeezing the glute as well, and you'll feel how the hamstrings and the glute is working really hard to get that heel as close as possible. This is a great one if you want to be able to touch your toes to the head in this cobra position. So as the heel comes close to your glute, see if you can hold just a millisecond before you lower the foot back down. An option is to come down onto your forearm if you feel too much pressure into your lower, but keep pulling the shoulders down and back so you have a lot of space between your ears and your shoulders while alternating the legs up and down. Glutes are super active and I keep lifting my head high. Time to work our shoulders, so we're gonna be down in a prone position. I'm gonna extend my arms forward. Here I wanna squeeze my glute and lift the stomach, so you should create a bit of space between your belly button and the mat. Bring the tailbone in, and Gatsby is happy with my form, so he walks away. From here you wanna lift your item. If you're holding in a block, hold on the side. You can also hold a stick, but you wanna bring that item as far away from you as you can. So extend the elbow and lift the item up as high as you can, and then lower to the floor. So lift and lower, strengthening our shoulder flexion. From here you're gonna hold up, so hold at the top, and from there we're gonna pulse, so the item is not touching the floor ideally. And then we're gonna finish with a top hold, so keep lifting the block as high as you can before you lower down. Then back into our 4-point position, we're going to place our elbows onto a elevated surface. So for example, a pair of blocks. I keep the fist together and hips are stacked on top of my knees. Coach Gatsby is checking the position. It's fine. And from here I want to work with raising and lowering my chest towards the floor. So a very active position. I'm pulling my shoulder blades together to get my chest a little bit closer down. We want to try to keep the hips tucked under, so the arching is not coming from the lower back but from the upper back, from the thoracic. So we're pulling the shoulder blades together, and then we're going into a hold. So now we want to keep pulling our chest down, and we feel that stretching the shoulders in the lats and triceps. And an option is to use a chair as surface instead of blocks. So now we're gonna extend the arms. We're gonna walk them far in front of us, but keeping the hips above the knees, and then lower the chest into a puppy position. So the puppy here is checking the form as usual. He likes what he sees. Maybe I can get the chest a little bit further down. Let's see. So yeah, you're working with the chest, lowering. You can either look down, or if it feels okay, try to look forward and gaze towards your fingers. Hands are shoulder width apart, and actively I'm squeezing between the shoulder blades, and that's what's keeping my chest down through the floor. You can also have your hands straight on the mat, so without elevation. So you really want to push into that shoulder flexion and thoracic extension. And please, my friend, this is a tough position to breathe in, but try to keep your breath going, and the breath can help you to come a little bit deeper as you breathe out. Start coming out of the position, and you're gonna turn around to sit on your bum for half bridges. So fingers are facing away from you. You're gonna use that arm to do a half circle and lifting the hips up high towards the ceiling. So feet are about hip width apart, and we keep circling the arm, and maybe we can come a little bit further every time, so we can start looking behind us. So start targeting looking up towards the ceiling, and then you can advance by looking behind. And then you need to lift the hips high, so squeeze the glutes at the top, and then lower them back to the floor and look forward. So make sure those fingertips are pointing back as well, so get a rotation into that shoulder. Extending the elbow and push the hand into the floor. Besides being a back bend exercise, you also get a great stretch of your front sides for your hips, and also your chest and your shoulders. So before getting into our bridges, we're gonna do a few hip lifts. So we're gonna tuck the tailbone under, lift the hips high, squeeze the glute. We wanna find that diagonal. So scoop the belly button in, and then think going up vertebra by vertebra, and at the top we squeeze the glute and push the knees out to the side. So we do this to fire up our backside, our glute and hamstring, which are super important to be able to lift our hips high and save our lower back from taking a lot of pressure. Then next time I want you to stay up and do pulses here. So this time we're just dipping the hips a little bit low and then coming straight back up again. So not moving all the way up and down. Finding that diagonal line at the top. After this we're gonna go into and hold. And here we're gonna go into a little bit more back extension as well. So hip stays high, and from here you're gonna lift them even further. So we're gonna break that diagonal a little bit and go over diagonal. Then you're gonna grasp the hand, walk your shoulders under, and keep lifting the hips high. Push the feet into the floor and see if you can transfer the weight a little bit higher onto your shoulders. Hold here, keep lifting. And then slowly start letting go of the hands, move them a little bit out to the side and roll down vertebrae by vertebrae. And then we're gonna go into our bridge now. And here's some cues I want you to have in the back of your head. You're gonna push from your feet, you're gonna lift your hips, squeeze your glute, draw your shoulder blades together and your chest pushing through, moving your shoulders as close over the wrist as possible and extending elbows. So feet close to the glutes, hands are gonna come by the ears with fingertips facing down, and then we're gonna start lifting the hips high, come up to the crown of our head, and from there we push the hands into the floor and start lifting everything up, 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 up. So squeeze the glute, feel a push from the feet, maybe you can walk them a little bit closer, and from there you want to push the feet into the floor to try to move your shoulders close over the wrist. Hips are lifting, maybe you can extend the knees a little bit, trying to find that bridge position. Here's a gymnastic bridge, and there's the focus is to keep the legs extended with emphasis on thoracic extension and shoulder flexion. And you can play around where it feels good for you to have your head, so either you look forward or maybe you look down into the mat to continue that curve in your whole spine. Then lower down, place your head into the floor, then shoulders, keep the hips high, and then lower the glute down to the floor. A great bridge to give some more love to the shoulders and to our thoracic spine is to elevate the feet into an elevated bridge, especially if tight hip flexors are limiting us from being able to push our hands towards the wrists. So feet up on an elevated surface, raise the hips, then up onto the crown of your head, push hands into the floor and lift the hips. Then you want to start trying to extend the knees, getting your shoulders over your wrists, and hold this position. To calm down, you reverse the movement, so head down, then shoulder, keeps the hips tight, and then place the feet down to lower the glutes to the mat. An option to enter is to keep the feet on the floor and then step up into the elevated surface, which doesn't require as much strength. And then here, extend the knees, pull the shoulder blades in together as if you're squeezing a ball between the shoulder blades. If it feels okay, you can walk the hands a little bit closer to increase the intensity. A bonus exercise to keep building that strength into your bridge hold is bridge push-up. So you want to start by pushing up into your bridge hold, and from there you want to lower down towards the mat. So keep looking towards your hand and then push back up. So lower, slow and controlled. Try to keep the elbows tight and then push back up. And if you have feeling, you can try to get a little bit deeper into your bridge before you're lowering back down again. So moving the chest through as much as you can between the reps. So use the eyes to see where you're going and try to target at your fingertips and not too far off your hands. And then lower back down just like in the other bridges, slow and controlled. To counter all the back bending we're doing and all the back extension, we want to finish up with doing a little bit of ab work. So do some crunches, your favorites, but we want to flex our spine and do some stretches as well. Hug the knees. Also some fold overs are great, and you can flow a little bit from pushing your chest out and then curving before landing into a fold over. Counteracting movements such as the fold over, which you can do standing as well, are great to do in between the exercises also to reset.
Thank you for watching the video, and I hope this can contribute to your back bending training. Let me know how you're going, just type below in the comments. And also don't forget to subscribe and like to support my channel. And stay tuned for more flexibility next week. And meanwhile, why don't you check out my 30-minute follow along front split session and give that one a go. Coach Gatsby got quite exhausted after that session. He's done.